Hello, I'm Kuba, officially Jakub, and let's get started.
Of course. So this is me, and I'm Nat. I'm user acquisition lead at Fabulous. That's a health and wellness app. And what we do at work, we acquire users to help them live their best lives. And, well, I love my job. I love dark sense of humor, and I love cats. You may see Cheesecake, my main partner in crime, when I work from home, because Fabulous is a remote-only company. I always worked by chance in subscription-based apps, so this is my main area of expertise, and this is why this is something I will be sharing with you my knowledge about today.
And I'm Jakub. I'm with her. That is a queer dating app. I've been in this industry for like 6 years probably. I started in App Agent. Peter here is for any queries. I got no cat, but kids. It's similar. I do like SCA, computer gaming and revenue optimization, and that's the thing I'll be talking about in a minute.
Before Kuba talks, we will show the most important slide of today is that in the current situation, you either grow or die, or
get fired.
Mm-hmm. Or you can call it, I go on a retreat for 1 year to actually find my meaning in life. It's equally the same as getting fired. So quick recap about what is marketing and what we're going to be speaking for the next couple of minutes. So there are 3 main stages. First of all, you acquire users in the mobile world, and marketers at that stage usually operate with such terms as CPI, CPA, and ROAS, for example. On the second stage, you want to activate and monetize the users you already have. So you have some amount of people, and first of all, you need to activate them to like your product, and ideally also make them pay, because this is how we are making money. And the most important one, and which is going to become even more important in the next years, is actually how to build loyalty with your customer base and how to introduce upsells to monetize your users even better. So my part about Fabulous is about the first part of this whole journey, actually how to acquire users and how to acquire them in the best way possible. I have a couple of rules. They are all of them, and I will go through each of them. They are rules, but all of them are backed by cases at work at different parts of my career. And those rules are pretty simple, but very hard to stick to. If there is one thing I want you to learn after my presentation, only one, is be friends with data. Data analytics is your best friend. Diamonds are girls' best friends. Data analytics is your best friend as a marketer. So measure what matters and measure, and measure again. Data team is your best friend. If you don't have a data team, try to find them data analyst. If you don't have a data analyst, become a marketer analyst yourself. You as a marketer right now really needs to know what sources you have on what source of information. You should not rely only on MMP's data, only on ad accounts data, only on App Store data, but basically connect all those sources of truth to have a full picture of what you have. And yeah, you don't need to invest in expensive solutions. You can do it yourself if you know all the caveats of the data you are having and how to work with it. The other one is actually with a quote from my favorite book, Lord of the Rings. You need 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. So you don't need to have a ring, as Sauron did, but you need to have 1 metric, and this metric can be anything. Is it net revenue? Is it ROAS percentage? But it's something that all people know that your marketing team has 1 clear goal. Some people prefer to stick to absolute numbers, for example, net revenue in day 30, or net revenue in the first 7 days, or quite opposite, number of acquiring users if monetization is not the most important part of your product lifecycle. But every team member from growth, from data, from support needs to know that what you care about. So whenever they come, like they will know what's your goal, so you don't have conflict of interests as much as you can have it. Let it go, let it go. This is about creatives. This is something what is very important for me, especially in this changing environment as we are living today, because when something is not working, when we talk about networks, when we talk about changes in scan, it was perfectly normal that the network that was working for years doesn't work anymore. And even though we have good partnership, the good connection, good industry knowledge of how to work with this specific network, no matter if it's Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, whatever else, if it doesn't work, don't work. There is such thing in behavioral science as sunk cost fallacy. If you already invested a lot and it didn't work, but you still want to invest more just to make this thing work. Like, hey guys, I can make it work. I already invested like 50K, it doesn't work, but let's invest 50 more so we will make it work. Guys, especially in recession, those things do not work this way. If things don't work, don't invest even more. Yes, this is one of my favorite slides. Less means more. When you have less networks, less campaigns, it means that every campaign or every network you have more data. This is especially important for iOS, because on iOS, with all the privacy and with such terribly beautiful thing as privacy threshold, the less campaigns you have, the more chances you have that all of your campaigns will pass the threshold. And this is the beauty of it. And of course, the more different campaigns and networks you have, the more different data sources you have, and it's getting more complex to understand and measure them all correctly and in the same and nice way. This is why the same rule applies to creatives. If you have many creatives, and if you use broad targeting and many creatives, it is very low chance that all of them will have enough visibility. But quite the opposite, if you have just a couple of them, but with really high quality score, it is especially applicable to Facebook, with less creatives, but higher quality of them and more creative level data, you will have your audience right straight thanks to the creative, not thanks to any kind of targetings. This is a different slide with a quoting from a different author, which is Stephen King, "Kill your darlings." And this is specific about creatives. So we talked about networks. Networks could be working well in the past, but they don't work anymore. And the same applies to creatives. So this is about your collaboration with your creative team. You might have winning concepts that were working for years. But if you have 5 iterations of content and doesn't work, then it's a great idea for you to stop iterating on things that don't work. Kill your darlings, and kill your darlings. Again, things that don't work, you don't have to make them work just because they were used to be good in the past. And yeah, always find the happy balance between experimental approaches and iterating on winners, and do not iterate on losing concepts, because now it's not a good time to waste money. And last but not least is divide and conquer. And just very important part, all those slides, they are going in the order. You can divide and conquer only when you have good data measurement, good network solution, good creatives. And now when you have all those things in place, you can think about what are different ways how to acquire users. And when we talk about apps, there is not only app acquisition campaigns, app install campaigns. You can also think about web to app, web onboarding. But very important, if you don't have right measurement solutions, you can mess up things completely easily, because with more data sources and without understanding how each of them works and having caveats and discrepancies everywhere, you can be easily trapped in wrong data. And what it means about smartly. Do not get lost in multipliers, because if you cannot explain how your multipliers work in one page on conference documentation, then don't use it. There are such things as organic multipliers, brand multipliers, etc., etc. If your team cannot explain, if it's not validated by your data team, or at least person who understands how statistics work, if you don't have a data team, then don't use those things. Again, there is such thing as it will pay off in the long run. It will not. If it doesn't pay off in the short run, very likely it will not pay off in the long run. Until you have, I don't know, a lot of investment and you really need to make your Google ad campaign works, then it may pay in the long run. But generally, this rule doesn't apply. You need to understand your profitability goals in day 7, day 30, and also in like 1 year or 2 years. Again, the most important part, love your data, measure your data, and save it. Do's and don'ts. This is basically all the fabulous advice for you for the next year. So what do you have to do? Clear reporting, love your team, have clear documentation, because people are going, coming, and it's super important just to have things written down, not just in your brain. But to the don'ts, if something goes wrong, it's never a good idea to blame other teams, to blame your team. We all fail and succeed at a team. And the most important one, do not micromanage. In different times, it's always a good idea to let people get creative, but focus on one goal. In our case, usually we work with ROAS, day 30, and a side metric, which is revenue. Because if you only have percentage-wise numbers, you can go to very low numbers. So you have the absolute number in terms of revenue, how much money we want to make every month, and the revenue in terms of ROAS, how much profit we want to make on this money. And then this is how we operate on our daily life. This is it from my side. We will have question time for you, so don't forget about them. But now I will pass the mic and the clicker to my amazing colleague, Kuba.
Thank you. So Her, in order for you to understand why I'm talking about what I'm talking about, Her is queer dating app. So it's very, very niche dating app for queer people. And therefore, we had to apply special measures to get people onboarded. And when they are there, to make most of them money-wise. So I'll be talking just about making users pay, nothing else. I would like to start with some experiments we did. These ones are unsuccessful. So playing with pricing. Seems easy. You usually do experiment, like you can do it right away. We did a few. Those are examples. So the first one, we call it obvious bargain. And it's based on the idea that we want to make more money out of one paying user. The RPPU needs to be bigger because if you can imagine people in the apps, in dating apps come and go. So the average stay in the app, the average rate for like staying in the app would be like a month and a half, maybe. It really depends on different features, but say this is it. So we wanted to extend money coming out of the paying users by extending lowering the price they are paying. The thing is that whatever we've done, it didn't work out because immediately, yes, we got more money, but in long term, if you account for the renewals, it wasn't successful. We just got less money than we expected. So people are actually paying more with a just monthly subscription. Another price experiment was a simple price increase for premium or for platinum, that is like a higher tier subscription. We did this without any hypothesis. Yes, we had a hypothesis, but we didn't have any underlying data, and this was fail right away. And the learning out of it is if you want to do pricing experiments, do it with some real life data. And this is what I think it's like more successful in the long run. So doing small tweaks in the product just after users onboard it to make them see the paywall more often. For example, swipe limit test. So every and each user has some swipe limits to do. In your apps could be different action, but usually it's the core action they have. And we got some limits. So after you swipe out all the users, you'll see the purchase screen, and we played with that a little, lowered the number of swipes for each user, and it seems that because it's a core action, it brought more money, and it didn't destroy retention rate. So that's good. You have to always to think at least about those two core measurements. Money out of it, average rate for paying user, and this rate. Also, our idea was, what if we target users that are willing to pay, or we think they should be paying because of their device and location and whatnot. And if they didn't pay, if they haven't paid already, send them more messages. The trouble with this approach is that you are focusing on 5% of people, and it's very hard to make any prediction on it. So it's very hard to predict actually if that people are going to pay or not. So we turned this principle and said, okay, so what if we actually turn to people who are not willing to pay for the price we are offering? So it's 95% of people, and it's much easier to predict on those, but it's a lot of them. And for them, we lowered the price we are offering. The test is currently running. It's a long-term test, but it seems that even though, and not even though, users are buying more for less money. So like day one or month one, average revenue per user is the same, but on the long term, it pays out because people are happier with what they are getting for their money, and it seems that they are staying and paying more. So the retention rate for those paying is higher or longer.
Purchase rate means conversion. That's what you mean?
Yes. Yes. Yes, purchase rate, conversion rate, or everything into purchase. And the last experiment we did, this is a screenshot from RevenueCat. We did this on iOS a few years ago. We finally did this on Android in the last months. And it's simply like introducing new tiers of subscription. So there will be always people who are willing to pay more, depending on the features you are offering. And you don't have to introduce new features. You just have to play with the features and which tiers they are lying in order to be able to decide the right way. And this decidedly increases the LTV per paying customer. So if you introduce tiers and you do it based on data you have, the features users like the most should be in the highest tier. The core features should be in a lower tier or for free, depending on your freemium approach. But this definitely works. So not just blindly increasing prices, but playing with the tiers and letting people choose what they want for their money. And why I'm telling all of this. So from my point of view, we haven't been growing from UA much this year, but we did grow from different product changes. There was more than I was just presenting. But my message for you, if you want to be a good growth marketer, you are going to need to become a full stack marketer. Be better with data, be better with user service, doing more UA on different levels. For example, us, because UA is much harder for us, we'll need to do direct purchases. So buying on different websites. We need to do SEO. We need to do web to app, and everything goes towards one thing: being a better marketers, full stack marketers. Also, please don't do any pricing tests blindly, and try to play with limiting users in what they do. I recommend to follow Jake Moore from Super Bowl on Twitter, because he's the best in this approach, and he has so much to tell. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.